president posted on True Social that the voting underway in California is, quote, rigged. What evidence does he have of that?
There's been some reporting out there about the possibility of furloughed workers not getting back pay.
Blatant fraud, as we've seen in California with their universal mail-in voting system. It's absolutely true that there's fraud in California's elections. It's just a fact.
I want to watch a few clips of Karoline Leavitt as she continues her defense of Donald Trump during this MAGA-led shutdown that reaches the record for longest shutdown held under none other than Donald Trump during his first term. So if you can, leave us a like on the video. It helps us out a ton. It gets us out there in the algorithm. We're really trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, and let's get right to the fact check.
When it comes to pardons, the White House takes them with the utmost seriousness, and the president understands the responsibility that he has as president to issue clemency and issue pardons to individuals who are seeking that. That's why we have a very thorough review process here that moves with the Department of Justice and the White House counsel's office. There's a whole team of qualified lawyers who look at every single pardon request that ultimately make their way up to the President of the United States. He's the ultimate final decision maker, and he was very clear when he came into office that he was most interested in looking at pardoning individuals who were abused and used by the Biden Department of Justice and were over-prosecuted by a weaponized DOJ.
Yeah, guys, Biden and Democrats obviously have a war on cryptocurrency. Biden is dementia-ridden, had no idea what he was doing, had handlers helping him with everything, but also had sinister plots against democracy and cryptocurrency and Trump and all of this, you know, criminal mastermind and dementia-riddled man. He was juggling both because I don't know, right? Don't ask too much questions. I just don't know how anyone can buy this stuff. The dude lined the entire Trump family's pockets. Like, we know this. He secured a deal that is the main factor in Trump's like massive jumps in wealth since taking office. And Trump only pardoned him after the fact, of which he then said, I have no idea who that is. So like one of two things have to be true. It's another entirely corrupt pardon. Trump has plenty of those where he essentially took a bribe, which by the way, guys, to be clear, that is what it is. Like this is the one it is, right? Or he's signing pardons that he has no idea about, much like his executive orders, which is quite literally exactly what MAGA just spent 2 years accusing Biden of. It's just hilarious, right?
The president posted on True Social that the voting underway in California is, quote, rigged. What evidence does he have of that, and what does it mean that mail-in ballots in that state are under legal and criminal review? By whom and why? And also, in this vein, does the White House still plan to issue an executive order banning mail-in voting, and what legal authority do you have to do that?
The White House is working on an executive order to strengthen our elections in this country and to ensure that there cannot be blatant fraud, as we've seen in California with their universal mail-in voting system. It's absolutely true that there's fraud in California's elections. It's just a fact. It is just a fact. They have a universal mail-in voting system, which we know is ripe for fraud.
Yeah, except there's never been any evidence provided on any of this, not on the state level in California, not on the federal level, like just saying it's a fact, trust me, bro. When as the administration who's lied multiple times, Karoline Leavitt was also saying they couldn't return Abrego Garcia. So like take the, oh, it's a fact as you will. Trump launched over 60 court cases in 2020 and failed to provide adequate evidence in a single one of these. Most of these lies that come from the mail-in ballots come from Rudy Giuliani, who then went in court and admitted that he lied and that he thought it was his First Amendment right. Mail-in ballots have proven to be an extremely safe measure of voting, no less secure than in-person voting, which is in-person voting fraud is less common than being struck by lightning. What it really is here is higher voter turnout favors the Democrats. That's it, because MAGA policies are extremely unpopular. Mail-in ballot voting allows for increasing voter turnout, and as many populations who would struggle to vote otherwise are now able to vote. These demographics themselves also typically tend to lean more Democrat, which of course then is going to favor Democrats. So it comes down to the same thing you see them do with voter ID. None of this actually leads to less fraud because none of it actually causes fraud, but it does help MAGA's electoral chances if they get rid of it. So that's why they want to do it. Between banning mail-in ballots, requiring voter IDs, and doing this massive gerrymandering, the rigging of democracy is happening right before our eyes.
There's been some reporting out there about the possibility of furloughed workers not getting back pay. We know that the president signed that bill into law in his first term. Does the administration guarantee that all furloughed workers will get back pay?
This is something we are very much open to discussing with Democrats as part of the discussions about the continuing resolution to keep the government open, and it's something that Republicans are talking with Democrats about right now. I won't get ahead of those negotiations or discussions.
That's a possibility that may not happen, even though it's law.
I just said Republicans in the White House are very much open to discussing this with Democrats.
This is like the norm, by the way, which instead of saying yes to, they're like leaving the door open by saying, we'll have to negotiate. Again, no negotiations to send money to Argentina, to pay the military. Hey, even like after judges forced Trump to do it, no negotiations to pay half the SNAP benefits, but like to give back pay to the workers that you yourselves are allowing to stay like out of work for the longest government shutdown. Like what he's trying to do is leave an avenue to where he can never pay them, right? Where he doesn't have to furlough them, probably so he can better afford his rich guy tax cuts, where he can then turn around and try to be like, well, it was the Democrats' fault because of X and Y, despite Trump unprecedentedly firing 4,000 workers and doing everything he can to make the shutdown harder for everybody and longer for everybody. Like you can't write comic book level villainy like the MAGA Republicans.